Can
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. First stop. We're in Old Jerusalem, and this is the Mount Zion Hotel. And it, found out later after we got there, and we were there a couple of days, that actually Old Jerusalem was in walking distance. And if we had been courageous, we probably could have done some more walking, but my roommate and I were kind of hesitant to do that. We arrived on a Friday afternoon just before the Sabbath began at sunset. And so all the stores and most of the restaurants closed down. The start of the 24-hour period of Shabbat is welcomed by lighting candles and attending synagogue for prayers, followed by the Shabbat dinner, which is a festive family affair. And then an hour before Shabbat ends, the shops and restaurants open so that people can do their shopping and get ready for the work week that begins on Sunday. Now, there was a restaurant nearby that we could walk to, so we weren't totally out of the picture there for finding a place to eat. So there was a big picture window, and this is what we looked at from the hotel. And that's the old city. King David established Jerusalem as his royal capital in the 10th century BC. And there actually were paths there that you could walk up there. The first thing that we did, this is the first place that they took us. It is the Tower of David, and it was built by the Crusaders. Now it's a museum. This is a view of if you're standing in the old city and looking out, you can see the newer part of Jerusalem. I put an arrow there for the King David Hotel, which is a very historic place. It's been there for a very long time. And then that tower right behind it is the YMCA building. And it's a very famous building. The same architect that designed the Empire State Building designed it. And we were able to walk there for dinner one night. But besides having, it's been designated a cultural heritage site, and it has a hotel and restaurant, concert hall. But it also has lots of programs that encourage multiculturalism. So this map shows how the old city is divided into quarters. So each day we went to a different quarter. And, there are so many different types of people that are involved in the city. Everybody has their own responsibilities. So walking down the street on the left, that's us walking down the street. And on the right, that's the picture of the room, of the door, I should say, that goes to the room of the Last Supper. Now, this is the room of the Last Supper. And I would say I was very surprised. It's not exactly what I thought it would look like, but what is true about most of the sites in Jerusalem, they've been made into churches, and especially the Crusaders, each of the different people that have been in charge of the various areas over the century have made changes to it. So this area would have been a room where they would have had dinner. Now this is showing the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And I have several pictures of it. All right, so you saw the dome. Now, when we entered that door that you see, that open door that you see there, that's the entrance that we took to go into the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. It's identified as the place both of the crucifixion and the tomb of Jesus of Nazareth. About 10 years after the crucifixion, the third wall was built that enclosed the area of the execution and buried within the city. And this accounts for the Holy Sepulchre's location now inside the old city of Jerusalem today. Well, when you go in there, I put down that there's a bewildering conglomeration of 30 plus chapels and worship spaces. There are different, again, this is an area where there are 4 different denominations that are in charge of various places. And the fact that there are no helpful signs means that when you go inside, it can be very confusing. I looked up, and actually, I think I saw something on TV about this man, but I thought that it was interesting because this man, who is a Muslim, he has inherited the job. He lives there in the Armenian area, and it is his job to lock up the church at night and open it in the morning. And he has the job so that there's no problem between the various other churches and no disagreements. So that's how they take care of that, so that nobody can complain. They have a Muslim that opens the door and locks it at night. Now, this is the Place of Crucifixion Chapel of Calgary. So you can see they have a hanging cross. It's supposed to be the actual spot where the cross would have been. Of course, they have constructed this chapel over it. And so the spot is down underneath it. And you can see that you have to wait in line. And then you can go inside, and that's where the Rock of Golgotha lies, the spot where the cross stood. I did not do that. Now, this is the edicule. It preserves the location of Christ's tomb. Though the cave here was carved away by a Muslim ruler 1,000 years ago, a clear history remains that this has been the revered location of the tomb. I have several pictures. This is from the front. This is from above. And you can see it's actually a little building. And the tomb is inside this building. Another view. But then I have my view of the edicule. There were lots and lots of people in line to go inside. But when I was there, I had absolutely no idea that that was supposed to be the area where Christ's tomb is. There are, as it said before, there's like 30 different chapels and areas. where people worship, all kinds of people. This is the stone of unction on which Christ's body was said to be laid and anointed after his crucifixion. The Armenians control this area. And you can go right up to it. Now, Saint Helena, Helena was the Emperor Constantine's mother. So the tradition is that while Helen was in Jerusalem, in the years 327 to 8, she discovered the true cross. She ordered that the 200-year-old temple of Venus built over it be torn down. And when they tore this down, it was here that the tomb of Jesus and the relics of 3 crosses were found. Over this site, she built the Basilica of the Holy Sepulchre. So we have Helena to thank for this. There is a statue there of her holding the cross of Christ in the chapel. Now this is under that other area, and down under here, there actually are supposed to be some relics of the actual cross, pieces of the actual cross. So you've all heard of the Via Dolorosa. I thought it was interesting that it says, at least in this article, that it's not actually where Jesus walked, it's where the church venerates the mystery of Christ's life, a place sanctified by the prayers of the faithful. Even while I was there, when we were walking along the Via Dolorosa, there were groups definitely that you could tell that were being, they were following it and praying. Well, I did not know when I was in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre that the last 4 stations of the cross are actually inside the church. So the 11th station, I don't remember, this is an area, I guess, inside of the Latin shrine. So one of those 30 areas. The 12th station was the one that we saw where was supposed to be where the cross is. The 13th station is that stone that we saw previously. And this 14th station, this is what it looks like inside that little building. I found a picture of it. This is supposed to be the actual tomb. So this is the, you can recognize the Dome of the Rock on the right. This is the Dome of the Rock. It's up. This right here is the Wailing Wall, or the Western Wall. And I put this white arrow over here. We actually, on the second day after we were here and then we went back, there is a door here that goes into tunnels that have been dug out by archaeologists. And the tunnels take you along the wall, but down underneath. So the Dome of the Rock is where Muhammad ascended into heaven on his wondrous night journey. For Jews and Christians, it is the mountain of the binding of Isaac, and the place where the first temple and the second temple were erected. It is the third holiest site for Muslims after Mecca and Medina. So this is on the plaza, the women's area. Men and women are separated. This is where women can go and pray. They take, some people take they have little pieces of paper there. You can put a prayer and stick it in one of the cracks in the wall, or just go up to the wall and pray. So this bridge, all right, so this is the same area, this is where the tunnels are. This is the entrance to the tunnels. Here's the Western Wall. Israelis are not, or people that are not Muslims are not allowed up in this area up here near the Dome of the Rock. So the only way for a non-Muslim to get up there is to walk up this wooden bridge. And then I guess if you get up there, then you're allowed to be up in the area over here. But there's a lot of, contention with Israelis wanting to be closer. Now, this is in one of the tunnels. When you go down underneath, they have, the Israelis have been working very hard for many years on cleaning these areas out and finding what's there. This has been made into a prayer center. And again, one of the reasons for being up close to the wall is because they're trying to get close to where the Holy of Holies would have been on the Temple Mount. Now, this part of the wall has a great big rock that Herod managed to have moved here. Now remember, men and women are separated. They're not allowed to worship together. These women found a spot, and it is, again, they're trying to get as close as they can to the spot where the Holy of Holies and where the Ark of the Covenant would have been. And the priest told the high priest would have entered the Holy of Holies only once a year on Yom Kippur to plead for the entire Jewish nation. Now this is where this is where I wrote about my experience here in the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem. All right. When we went to Bethlehem, our Israeli guide could not go with us. Israelis are not allowed in this area. So we went on a bus. We had to go through a checkpoint, and then a Palestinian guide worked with us when we got there. The town was very crowded. The church was full of people in line, waiting patiently. And the basilica is built over the actual cave that has been venerated as Christ's birthplace. This is what it looked like when we got inside. You have to really think that the line is all the way over. We were like all the way over here. Can't even see us where we would have been waiting. And all kinds of people waiting to go, and very slow moving, and at times not moving at all. Now this is where the steps are, because you have to go down these steps to get to the spot. And where we were really very afraid that people might push us. There's no handrails. And the Palestinian leader had to station people in our group, like the ones that she thought could hold back anybody that might push ahead. There's those steps. And this is the area in here that is supposed to be the birthplace. I'm very pleased with this picture because I didn't actually do what I was supposed to do. I kind of held back as people were moving along, and I managed to get a picture of it before another group came in. And when you're here, you know, there's a hole in the middle here. And, you know, I really had no idea as to what exactly I should do here, you know, but it's amazing. It's, that's the way that they have it right now. And then over on the side, they enlarged this room so that more people could get in, and they built a silver manger over on the side. So this is an actual replica of Old Jerusalem, this whole area in here. And this is the Israel Museum, which has archaeology, the Dead Sea Scrolls, Jewish art and culture. The Shrine of the Book. It includes the first 7 Dead Sea Scrolls. We walked through the Jewish quarter. The yeshivas are Jewish academies of Talmudic learning where biblical study and application of scripture have defined and regulated Jewish religious life for centuries. And when we came here, they took us to a very special place. One, it's an area that was destroyed, basically. And that they have done, again, enormous archaeological excavations, and they have revealed what it looked like many years ago. So these are the actual remains of the houses that were here. And this is during the Second Temple period. So it ceased to exist when Titus destroyed Jerusalem in 70 AD. We drove to the Holocaust History Museum. It's mainly underground. You take a long linear walk through the galleries, which portray the experiences of victims through original artifacts, survivor testimonies, and personal possessions. And at the end, you emerge out of the mountainside with a view of the valley below. Then we got on a bus and drove to Masada. So here is Jerusalem. And on the way, we're heading to the Dead Sea, a resort on the Dead Sea, actually, and we stopped at Masada. And on the way, the bus, actually, our tour guide had the bus take a route that would take us to the embassy, the new building. It's under construction because President Trump had our government move the United States Embassy to Jerusalem. And there's the plaque that has his name on it. And of course, it is an area of contention. So here's Masada. It was built by Herod the Great, and you have the option to walk up or ride up. Now, the students who make a trip there, they walk up. Herod was so afraid of revolt and being forced to flee that he created this fortress for himself, and he stocked it with enough food that the Jewish families who took refuge there were able to live for 3 years before being overcome by the Romans. The Romans camped down here, and I think they tried a couple of times, and then they finally managed to get up there. And the Jews, of course, were all killed. I think they committed suicide. They did not want to be a rabbi at work at Masada. There, and as I said, there are students that go there. Many students. Now, this was, I thought, a very interesting site. It's the actual, this is Qumran, where there's that's one of the caves where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. But there's only, it was behind this gift shop, and there was a little sign there. We didn't go there, but there it was. And there's the Dead Sea. It is kind of drying out. So Jordan and Israel have some work to do to help it. So here you can see a map showing the Jordan River passes through the Sea of Galilee, goes all the way down here to the Dead Sea. And it's basically the border with Syria and Jordan. We stayed in a resort in the Dead Sea. So Peg Thatcher told me I had to float in the Dead Sea, which I did. There I am over here floating. Unfortunately, the beneficial mud that women like to put on their skin wasn't in this particular area. Floating was very easy, but getting up was very, very difficult. This happens to be my roommate. Oops. All right. Then we drove. Okay, so we're down here. Now we're driving all the way up here to the Sea of Galilee. So Beth Shean is a national park. We stopped there, and you can see this area, like in here, it's a trade route, and so and actually going up then from here, and so the Romans built an amazing city here. Now, this mound, it says, according to the Bible, the Philistines exposed the bodies of King Saul and his son on the walls here after defeating the armies of Israel in the Battle of Gilboa. So Romans built beautiful cities, including a theater. Now, we're at the Sea of Galilee, and finally, we've come to a place that is tranquil and has spiritual beauty. It is the spot where John the Baptist baptized Jesus. And people come there. You can rent these gowns, and they come and get baptized in the river. So here is the Sea of Galilee. And it says it has changed comparatively little. There's no building, no nothing. So there, in modern times, tourism has become the major local industry. Jesus made the fishing town of Capernaum up here, and he used the lake, its boats, and its shores to spread his good news. So we did pass by, and I was able from the bus to look down and say, well, there's Capernaum, but we didn't go into Capernaum or get very close. So this map shows the West Bank. It's the river Jordan. Here's wait. This is the Dead Sea. This is the Sea of Galilee up here. The West Bank. So this is where Netanyahu, I just read today, is still trying to legalize Jewish settlements. That's where there are many Palestinians that live there. So finally, we have a beautiful sight, the Sea of Galilee at night and at sunset. And a very nice room. Next day, we went to the Mount of Beatitudes, and this is a very lovely place. It's very easy to walk around, and it's not crowded. It's bright and sunny and beautiful. Now, all right, so we went up to Safed. Here it is here, Safed. Oops, let me go back. Let me go forward. Safed, a mystical city. We had lunch in a kibbutz somewhere around here. Then we went up here to the Golan Heights, the border with Syria. Next day on to Nazareth down here, where the Church of the Annunciation is. Then over to the coast to Haifa. I think it's a port city, an attractive place for Israelis to live. Our tour guide lived there. Is considered a relative haven for Israelis and Arabs to coexist. Then down to Caesarea, another Roman ruin, and then Tel Aviv, down near the airport, I guess, down in here. So this is Stotz, the Jewish, that's the Jewish way to name for it. These Jews practice Kabbalah. It's a mystical form of Judaism. And there's a strong tradition here that maintains that the Jewish Messiah will first reveal himself in the Upper Galilee, which is where Safed is located. We got to go inside a synagogue. So this area up in here, that's where women would sit. Remember, men and women can't be together. We were able to see where the Torahs were kept. It's a very beautiful place. Now this, our bus took us, to this area. I showed you on the map, it's way north. where we stood, this is Syria over here. And this is the UN peacekeeping unit. And behind us up on a hill, that's where there are secret Israeli places where they keep watch. Nazareth, the Church of the Annunciation. So it's built over the cave that tradition holds to be the home of the Virgin Mary. It's pretty modern, the architecture. It's become the largest Christian church in the Middle East. That was in 1969, so it contains two churches, the upper one being the parish church for Nazareth's Catholic community. Down here, where again you have to go down, but this area right in here, it's believed the Archangel Gabriel told young Mary, aged about 14, that she would become the mother of the Son of God. And here Mary uttered her consent. Let it be done to me according to your word. Inside the cave stands an altar with the Latin inscription, "Here the word was made flesh." The amazing thing about this church is that they have churches from all over the world, from all different countries all over the world, have sent beautiful artwork, and the perimeter of the church contains this art. Now here is the city of Haifa. A really beautiful place and a very important port. This is where the cruise ships would come in. So there's cruise ships, plus there's also, boats coming to bring all kinds of things. You can see it's a pretty modern city. Well, right here is a Baha'i, I guess you call it a, well, it's up these steps here. I don't think that it's up these steps. Come on up. Oh, well, I guess that is it. This is it. It says a golden domed shrine of the Bab. This is for the Baha'i faith. So I said before that there's multiculturalism in Haifa. These people, as well as Muslims, all live together peacefully. So Caesarea, this is a national park. Again, Roman ruins. It would be Herod the Great who completed this. Of course, now it's just ruins, but it's a wonderful location with an important port. Now, our last stop was Tel Aviv. And this was our tour guide, who was excellent. She took us on a tour of the old city. This is the old part, and a very interesting story of how the dozen families that gathered on the beach, and how they divvied up the land and built it up to where it is today. The families could not decide how to allocate the land. They held a lottery. So they took seashells and gray ones and white ones. And on the gray ones, they put the names of the families, and on and on the white seashells, they wrote the plot numbers of the plots that were going to be given out. And so Tel Aviv's founding families began building the first modern Hebrew city. Well, right in this area where we stay, we were within walking distance of the old Jaffa port. So this is the port where Jonah set off on his famous trip. And very, very old. Today it's a tourist town with shops and restaurants. This is an amazing, amazing art museum that this woman, Lana Gore, made the collection and made it available. So you can see she has quite interesting things in there. Now this is the view from the museum. On the other side of this is the port. And this is St. Peter's Church, which the significance here is that Peter had come to this place. He actually went to stay with Simon the tanner because he was going to raise Tabitha or Dorcas from the dead. And while he was there, he had a dream, and the dream was about this sheep that came down. It was full of all these animals, and God was saying to him, eat, eat. And this is, it happened 3 times, because each time Peter would say, no, 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 it's not something that I would do. And then he realized that he was being commanded to eat animals unclean under Jewish law, so that he knew that you didn't have to be a Jew to become a Christian. So there's the rock on top of the church, because it's written, I say to you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church. Then from Tel Aviv, we got in buses and we came home.